Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome back to our Detroit Red Wings franchise mode here in NHL 21. So in last episode we had the draft and the re-sign stage, and we did let go of a couple of players because of cap reasons. We only have like 7 point something left in cap space, so we don't have a lot of cap room to actually sign any good players really. As you can see, we only have 7.410 in cap, and we do need probably still a backup goaltender because I feel like Stevenson, I don't know if I would trust him yet in a way to being a backup, so I think I'll give him one more year probably in the AHL for now. If he develops into being a good backup goalie middle of the season, maybe we could call him up at some point. And then we do need still like probably another one defenseman at least that could play in the lineup, and then probably a depth defenseman at best. And then we could probably still use some depth forwards, I would assume too. So we do have some stuff we need to sign, but obviously we don't have a lot of room to work with in picking up good guys. So anyways, we do have one comment to go over before we get into our free agent signings that we're going to make, and it is from HawksFan88. He says, not much in the way for McDavid replacements, but I feel like Kirby Dach might be a solid option. Now, the thing is, I don't know if we could really replace McDavid because we don't really have the cap space, because if we even look at Kirby Dach, for example, who is probably dropped off a lot. Yeah, there he is. He's wanting 4.3, so that would take up pretty much most of the cap space we have. And then we still technically need a backup goaltender and that other defenseman at least. And then we also need some depth players, so I don't think it's worth paying him 4.34, especially considering he put up like 48 points last season. So yeah, I don't think I'm going to be actually bringing in Kirby Dach. I also mentioned to him that we do need a few defensemen and maybe a backup goalie, and he didn't see anything interesting. But I was looking on my own, and I did find some stuff that is actually pretty interesting because we could bring back a lot of former players if we want to. So I'm thinking for goaltending. Now, there is the obvious goaltending option for backup in Nguyen, who we literally just had like 2 years ago. We let him go. He played in Vancouver for one season. It was actually pretty solid as a backup goaltender there, but he's back in free agency again. We could always bring him in, but he wants like 2.45, which does eat up a lot of the cap hit. Now, the interesting one that I am going to be signing is a goalie that we drafted and we traded away in a trade. And yeah, then we never brought him in. Like, he's never played an NHL game, which is kind of interesting. Some of you might not know who I'm talking about, but if you remember, we traded with Vegas for DeKaiser a few years ago. I think it was in the DeKaiser trade. We traded Max Bayer. This guy was a prospect of ours, a 7th round pick. He's made it up to a 79 overall, which is pretty solid. It's not the greatest overall for a back goalie, but he only wants 850K. So, I mean, it's a very cheap contract. He's never played an NHL game, and he's only played like 4 AHL seasons. And he was actually pretty good in his last season in the AHL with like 5 shutouts. So we are going to bring him in. He's never played an NHL game, never played a playoff game, and we will give him a 1-year deal. I could even maybe try and get him on like a 2-year deal if I wanted to, but we only need him on a 1-year deal because that way by the end of it, Stevenson should be ready for the NHL. So we'll give him a 1-year deal at 850K. He should accept that because no other team is interested in him. So that would give us our backup goaltender. Then we need to get into defensemen, and there wasn't any former defensemen, I don't think. I wrote down a couple of defensemen that are pretty cheap that we could bring in, so I will look at one of those, I think. Because a lot of these like 79 and 80s, those for some reason want like 5.55. Some of them only want like 2.475, so it's kind of interesting. But where are the guys I wanted to bring in? Oh yeah, but I did let go of Marty Aker just in case you guys didn't watch the end of last, or not Marty Aker, Mitchell Aker. I let this guy go after 1 season just because we didn't have the cap space because he wants like $5 million. And then I also got let go of Thomas Larson, who was with us for a long time. He also wanted way too much money, so should be interesting to see where those guys sign in free agency. But where are those defensemen that I was mentioning that I wrote down? Might have to sort this alphabetically. Oh, there's one, Cracknell. He only wants 850K as well. He's a 78, so not the greatest overall. But once again, this guy has never played an NHL game, never played an AHL game, He's 31 years old and he was undrafted. So this guy was just a random undrafted player that's never gotten an opportunity to play. So I think this guy deserves an opportunity, like a little misfit player. We'll give him 850k as well. And then I think I'll bring in one more defenseman. I might use Cracknell more as depth. The other defenseman I was looking at was Conboy, I think it was, but I don't know where Conboy is. He might be a 78 as well. Or was he a higher defenseman? No, he was here. He also doesn't want too much. He's a former second round pick of the Dallas Stars. Does fit our top pairing as well, so potentially. So we'll give him also a 1-year deal. So that eats up probably around, I would say, maybe 3 million of our 7 mil that we have in cap space, which means we could still get some forwards. We probably will pick up one forward for the lineup and maybe one depth forward. But the one forward I definitely want to go after is, I think he was a left winger, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it was, there you go. It is Theo Yzerman, and it'd be kind of cool to bring in an Yzerman player. This guy played for Tampa Bay against us in the playoffs a couple times. He's not really played that much in the NHL, and he's only averaged like around 8 minutes on ice, yet he's still had around 26 to 30 points a season, which is pretty good. And then also in the playoffs, he's been not too bad either to an extent. So we're going to bring this guy in on a 1-year deal. He might actually be in our lineup, or he might battle with, what's his name, Sedin for a lineup spot. I don't know. We'll give him a 1-year deal. And then I was also thinking about bringing in a center, and that was Mestre, if I could find him. Yeah, there he is. He's a little bit more expensive, but he's a depth forward as well. He hasn't really gotten much of an opportunity. But as you can see, last year he had 31 points in 82 games, which is pretty solid, in only 851 time on ice. So this guy might actually be not too bad. And then he didn't really do well in the playoffs, but still it's a decent depth pickup. So we will sign him as well to a 1-year deal and give him what he wants. And we should be able to afford all of those guys that I just offered contracts to. So that includes Mestre, Yzerman, Cracknell, and Conboy, and then goalie-wise, it is Byers. So we should be able to get most of those guys in, and then our team should be pretty much set for next season. So let's see if we can get those guys. Hopefully we do, and then we will get to the start of the season. So we did get that coach. So I forgot that we lost our head coach to retirement at the end of last episode, but we do get a coach in Rene Grandpierre. So should be interesting to see how that coach is, because he's a good guy to fit our system. But it really does suck having to get a new coach. So we do get Conboy. Cracknell has rejected. He doesn't like the locker room, apparently. I might have to try and re-get him again. But everybody else accepts. So we are going to try and get Cracknell back, just because it's kind of cool to get like a 31-year-old undrafted player that's never played an NHL or AHL game. Like, that would be an interesting story if that guy could help us win a Stanley Cup or something like that. Where are you, Cracknell? Let me go back to UFAs and sort this by overall. Because he was like a 78. So I guess we're gonna have to pay him like 1.4 or something. If we don't end up getting him, it's not the end of the world, but still. He didn't sign anywhere else, it said, right? I don't think so. I hope he didn't sign somewhere else because of that. Like, if he signed with another team because their locker room was bad, apparently. Even though I thought our locker room was fine. Like, we literally just won a Stanley Cup. Where are you, Cracknell? I know you're somewhere down here. There you are. Perfect. So we'll give you a 1-year deal, and we'll just give you, like, we still have how much in cap? We have still a lot of money in cap. We could actually technically afford another good player, but I don't know if I really want to, because playing right up against the cap is really tough. Like, we could always keep that cap space in case we make any trades at like the deadline in the next season, or if we decide to I don't know, just free up some cap space and give out some extensions. Like, we could already give out some contract extensions, because like if we go to our contracts and go to all expiring, we do have some big contracts up next year. I might already give Bullion an extension. He only wants 4 years because he's probably going to be retiring around 35, I'd assume. I'm going to try and get him down to like $9 million for 4 years around. Might be trying to jip him off a little bit too much, but we'll see. Because if I could get him down to like not that much, it's definitely worth it, I think, because He's a very good player. He scored a lot. He's going to be probably on the decline, but still. Let's zoom to next season. See if we could get all those, or that guy. We get Cracknell. That's good. And now we're just waiting on to see. Yep, we get Bullion back on a contract extension. That is awesome. Wasn't really too expensive, to be honest. Like, I don't know how much cap space we're going to have going into next year's offseason, but we do still have to get Biggs back. And then Garrison, Wong, pretty much everybody else is, though, pretty just, like, cheap. So we don't have actually a whole lot of contracts to deal with the next offseason that are that important to, like, the last few years. So, anyways, that's that. Let's, I'm going to do a jump cut till next season, and then I'll show you guys our edited lines, and it will probably sim a few months of the season. Okay, guys, so our lineup looks actually pretty solid for the most part. So we got DeKaiser, Matthews, and Dingman. Second line, Bullion, Kolyamainen, and Powell. And then the third line is now kind of a little bit different. It's got Alexandrov, Hobbs, and Garrison, so 3 of our younger guys. And fourth line has Wong, Mestre, and Yzerman. So should be an interesting season to see how these guys simulate together. And then defensively, still Wall and Stewart, because obviously that pairing is dynamite. Then we got Biggs and Savonin, which actually have a +1 chemistry, which is pretty nice. And then on the top 6, it's a little bit weak because we got a -1 chemistry and Bertuzzi and Conboy. But it is better than having somebody like, I think it was Cracknell, made it like a -2. So, yeah, that's pretty much that. And then Hills and Sedina are our depth options. And our goaltending, Punov's up to an 89, which is pretty crazy. And Bayer as the backup. Now, what's kind of interesting is actually Stevenson did jump up to an NHL backup goaltender already, so technically we could use him this season if we want to, but right now I don't think I'm going to. I'm going to let him play down there in the AHL just because he's only played 1 year in the AHL right now at this point, and he hasn't had a lot of experience because he played 3 years in the OHL, only played 1 year in the AHL, now he's NHL ready, so it makes sense to kind of give him maybe 1 more year in the AHL. We might call him up still at some point during the season if our team isn't doing good. Like if Bayer's playing horrible, we could always call up Stevenson. And yeah, pretty much this is what our lines look like down there in the minors. I don't really care about the chemistry that much, but Aker technically could come up. I don't know if I will call him up at any point, but he does have some good shooting categories and stuff like that. So we could always play him next season or even this season if we want to. But yeah, that's pretty much that, I think. Here's the defensive core. Stapleton, the best defensive prospect we have down there. But still looks pretty good altogether. Damn, Foose isn't panning out, which kind of sucks. I don't know what the reasoning is, but it kind of sucks anyways. So let's get to the season simulation. Should be fun to see how this team performs after winning the Stanley Cup. Let me take a look at the where those players signed that I was mentioning before, like our former players, because there was a few of them in free agency, and I'm kind of curious on where they signed before we actually sim. Because there's former players like Perrin, Xavier Jenner, Ouellette, Harvey Jenner, and then there's also Nguyen, which I always forget how to spell Nguyen, but I think it's like that, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it is. Okay, good. And he signed with the Ottawa Senators. Interesting. For a 1-year deal at just over $1 million. Huh. Wonder how he's going to do in Ottawa. But that means we're going to be facing him a decent amount because we're in the same division. So that's where Nguyen signed, in case anybody was interested. Nelson Perrin, after playing 1 season in Tampa Bay, head to free agency where he probably signed with the Vancouver Canucks. Okay. So he was where Francis Nguyen was like last season. Interesting. Should be interesting to see how he plays there, and he's wearing number 69 like a champ. That's kind of funny. There you go. There's Nelson Perrin, and then the Jenners. Then there's 2 Jenners, Xavier and Harvey Jenner. Harvey Jenner faced us in the Stanley Cup Finals as a member of the Blues. So Xavier Jenner's still a free agent, and same with Harvey Jenner. Damn. That kind of sucks that none of them have signed yet. Like, I would sign Xavier Jenner as a depth option or something just to play in the AHL for now, but I don't think I want to do that. He's pretty solid of a player. I just don't know why he's not getting a contract. Harvey Jenner, on the other hand, is more of like a minor league top 6 at best. Interesting to see that they're still free agents. And then the final one was Raphael Ouellette, who actually played as a depth forward in Colorado last season. He had a really good year, but he didn't play that much. So I don't know where he got signed. He signed with the San Jose Sharks on a 1-year deal probably. Yep, 1-year deal as well. He's a 78 now. But last season he had 15 points in 21 games with Colorado, which is really good considering the seasons with us. He only put up like 20 points in 82 games. So, but anyways, that's that. Let's get started with the season sim, see how our team performs. Hopefully we could perform good after winning the Stanley Cup and we don't have a little bit of a slump. So we're going to get the preseason done, and we'll probably sim to January the 1st just because might as well get a good chunk of the year done. So let's see how we do in the preseason. We're not going to be making any trades until next episode if you guys think they are necessary, but I don't really like making trades as much as I like drafting players and putting them in our lineup, to be honest. And preseason-wise, we kind of struggled, but that's okay. 2-3-2. Who led us in points this postseason, or not postseason, preseason? It's DeKaiser with 7 points in 7 games, only 1 goal. I'm expecting better things from him this season. I'm also expecting somebody like Bouillon to have a really good season, because last year was a down year for him. He only had like 39 goals, but the previous 3 seasons he had like almost 50 goals each season. So hopefully he has a good bounce back year after that playoffs experience that he just had, because he was really good in the postseason. So let's go to November the 1st, see how we are in our first month. We should be pretty automatically a good team, even though we did lose a decent amount of players, I would assume. And yep, we're off to a good start so far. We're losing a little bit too much games, 5-4. So not a great start, I would say, but not a horrible start. Dingman's got 12 points in 9 games, so it might be the goaltending that's keeping us a little bit back. Let me actually take a look at the goalie stats right now, even though we are a little bit early on. Because like I said, we could call up Stevenson at some point, but Max Byer's off to a fantastic start. He's only played 2 games and he's only allowed 3 goals. So that's really good for Byer. And then Punos has been pretty solid as well, I would say. Like, he's got a good goals against. His save percentage isn't fantastic, but we might be actually better than what our record looks like. Let's do another month. See how this team does in November. And yeah, hopefully this team could just maybe make it back to the playoffs again. If we miss the playoffs this year, that's going to suck, especially after winning a Stanley Cup. But you never know, really, with the simulation these late in years. I've never won back-to-back cups since, like, NHL 17. So I don't know if that's going to happen in this, to be honest. So we're 11-8-3. We're still kind of off to a little bit of a sluggish start. We are now 6 points back in that last playoff spot already, which is a little bit bad. 3 points back at the Flyers, though, for a wildcard spot. So we're right with them, and 24 points in 22 games for Caden Matthews is pretty good. Let me take a look at the goalies again, just make sure the goaltending is still doing solid. Byer is now turned off. Yeah, he's horrible now. He was good, and then he played one more game and allowed 5 goals. Yikes. And then Punos has been not that great either. It's pretty much like what we had last year, where we had bad goaltending, but we still made the playoffs. I'm not going to look at the offense and defensive stats yet, because that is going to be a surprise for when we finish this month. Hopefully we have some good stats across the board. So let's go to January the 1st. Might be a bit too much of the season to simulate, but yeah, this team should be better than they are simulating right now. We win against Toronto, win against Dallas. There's some wins. There's the team I like to see. We're scoring actually a lot of goals, which is a good sign. Maybe that means Bouillon's coming back to form again. And we're 20-13-3, so now all of a sudden we have a pretty good record, and we are still out of a playoff spot at this rate, but it's because Buffalo and the Sabres are right there. So that's all we're going to simulate in this episode, but let's take a look at our player stats so far for the season, as well as our team stats and that sort of stuff. So let's go by centers to start it off. So Caden Matthews at 39 points in 36 games, which is pretty nice. We have him signed for 7 more seasons because he got an extension recently, but this might be one of his best years of his career since like this year where he had 90 points, I would assume. Pretty good start for Caden Matthews, continuing where he left off in the postseason. And then Coley Minon's got 27 points in 36 games. He's really slowed down a lot, and I don't really like his contract as much. Like, he's still signed for 2 more years at 11.7. I don't know why he's like dropped off so considerably, but he still had a pretty solid career for the most part, but it's dropped off a lot since like his first year. And then Phil Powell, 25 points is pretty solid. Considering last year he only had 37 points all year long. He's doing pretty good this year. And then Calvin Hobbs, 16 points. That's pretty good. Hunter Mestre, 16 points as well. That's a pretty decent pickup, I would say. All these centers are almost shooting above 10%, which is pretty good. Left wing wise, DeKeyser's got 33 points in 36 games. 21 of them are goals. That's really good to see. He's almost got as much goals as he did last year, so that's also impressive. Wong, 13 points. He's already got 1 goal, which he had all year long last year. He's not much of a goal scorer at all. Like, he's had 3 1-goal seasons so far. Only 1 8-goal season. Like, that's pretty crazy. And then Theo Yzerman, who we brought in from Tampa Bay, 12 points in 36 games isn't too bad. Yeah, it's not that bad. His shooting percentage is 8.1, so not terrible. Then we go to our right wingers. Bouillon's back to scoring goals. 18 goals in 36 games. 36 points in 36 games. He's definitely going to have a better year than last year, probably. I don't know if he's still going to reach 50 goals again. Like, he might end up reaching like 39 around it like he did last year, but who knows. Garrison, 34 points. That's actually a big step up from Andrew Garrison. Last year is his rookie season. He had 17 points in 71 games. And in the playoffs, he picked up 10 and 22, so he was stepping it up a little bit. But so far, he's almost point per game in his second season, so pretty impressed with Andrew Garrison for sure. Dingman's only got 29 points, so he's got less than Garrison, which is really weird, considering the amount of ice time is way different. Like, look, almost a 10-minute differential. And then Nikita Alexandrov in his second season has been pretty solid as well, 24 points in 36 games. So our right wingers and left wingers are doing pretty solid, and the same with our center core. So I would say not too bad from all that. And then defensively, Wall's got 29 points in 36 games. He is on pace to probably have another like 70-point season maybe. His plus minus isn't that great by comparison to previous seasons, but still not too bad. Biggs is 21 points. His contract is up finally this year after we gave him an 8-year extension. So we might have to give him a contract in next episode if you guys want me to. So yeah, he's been pretty solid so far. And then Jose Stewart has got 10 points, which is actually kind of impressive for him, considering he had 19 all season long last year. He's a +4. Bertuzzi's got 8 points and a +10, so not too bad from Sean Bertuzzi in his first season. And then Savonin 6 points and a +5. And then Conboy 4 points and a +10. So Conboy and Bertuzzi, even though they have a -1 chemistry, they are the best defensemen right now in terms of plus-minus. Goaltending wise, Punovs has been winning games 17, 10, and 2, but he's only got 1 shutout, an .894 save percentage, and a 3.12 goals against. I don't really like that, to be honest, and I don't really like that I'm paying him $7.8 million. It's a little bit expensive for a guy that's playing like that. And then Bayer's been actually pretty solid as backup, 3-3-1 with a .912 save percentage and a 2.91 goals against. So not too bad from our team in general. Like, how much minus players do we have? Only 2 minus players. So at this rate, we might actually end up being a playoff team. But who knows? Maybe our team will fall off like a cliff in the next episode. Let's take a quick look at the team standings, just because I'm kind of curious on where we've struggled so far this year. In terms of the entire NHL, we are 13th best, but we are not in a playoff spot, which is pretty crazy. Goals for per game. We are the 4th best offensive team in the NHL, which is pretty crazy. Didn't expect that, to be honest. And then goals against per game. We are, looks like right around the mid-table at 3.17. So we could maybe be a bit better defensively, but it's not the end of the world, because we are outscoring our problems. Power play percentage, that's probably why we're so good offensively, is our power play is top 10 in the league, 24.5%, but there is a lot of teams better than them, like Chicago, who's 28%, which is pretty crazy. And then our penalty kill percentage is pretty good as well. So we're actually pretty good on the penalty kill, but not 5-on-5 in terms of defensive play, it looks like, because we are 4th best on the penalty kill. We already have 2 shorthanded goals, I think, or no, 5 shorthanded goals this year, jeez. 3rd best in the NHL, and we're really good on home ice, but not good on the road right now. So everything actually looks pretty good. Let me take a quick look at who had those short-handed goals, because we have 5 shorties this year, which is kind of crazy. So Biggs already has 2 short-handed goals as a defenseman. Wong, Dingman, and DeKeyser all have 1 as well. Interesting. So that is that. I guess I could quickly show you guys the trading block in case we want to make any trades next episode, but I don't know. I think we might just want to let this team play out for the rest of the year. But in case you guys see anybody that could help us out, like a good replacement for like a Connor McDavid type of thing that we did last year, that type of thing. Because we don't have a lot of cap space to work with, but we could always bring in somebody to help us out offensively if we need to. Like Clayton Keller, but he's making 7.9, which is way too much. Damn, this guy's making 8.3 for 5 years. Huh. A lot of guys are getting paid way too much in Buffalo, looks like. Harvey Jenner must have signed with the Calgary Flames. Interesting. Wonder if he's actually in their lineup. But yeah, here's all that is available. If you guys want me to pick up something to help us out for a playoff run, let me know. And then there's also prospects if we wanted to trade away veterans, but we're not going to be doing that. Because realistically, we're trying to go for another Stanley Cup, but I don't know if that's even going to happen. But I really hope it does. Schrader's still an RFA in Florida, so Florida's having problems with the cap apparently. Adam Fox, but we don't need a defenseman really. We need probably just another good forward, I would assume, if we are going to make a trade. Burgundy signed for 3 years, which is too much. Vesalainen is not that bad. But if we want to bring in somebody that's a stud player, it's going to be hard to find somebody that's that good, I would assume. Dur Argunchintsev, that guy's making $10 million, my god. Bouchard, Kalanos is another defenseman. Norinen's signed to long term. Damn, if Tolvanen was like on a 1-year deal and like less money, I would probably try and bring him in. Because I was trying to bring him in years ago. But so far under our new coach, we haven't been terrible, which is good. Because I was kind of worried that we weren't going to find a new coach after losing whatever his name was. I can't remember what the heck his name was, but we did lose him. Claude, this guy's still an RFA. I haven't seen really a whole lot of interesting things out there right now, it seems like. But if we want to bring in somebody like Likachev, there's that option. Alavar signed for 4 years, that's too much. Nico Hischier might not be a bad option. He's only got 2 goals and 11 assists though in 29 games. But he does fit our bottom 6, so maybe Nico Hischier is an option. Wait, was that... Yeah, that's Elijah Petrovic, our former player. I was just going to say. He's in Vancouver. He played in the AHL last season when we... Yeah, he played in the AHL last year, which is really weird. And he's playing... He hasn't played a single game in Vancouver yet. Bring back Elijah Petrovic as well for another run. That'd be pretty interesting. A lot of these guys, though, are signed for bad deals. Actually, Peyton Krebs was on a 1-year deal, but he is making 6.6, which would take probably most of the cap we have, as well as that trade value is pretty high. So, Quinn Hughes is there, Ty Smith, some defensemen, and Nathan MacKinnon, but he's making 8.9. Nathan MacKinnon would be the player probably to bring in, but I don't know how we're going to be able to get him. Like, we could always try and get Winnipeg to retain cap space, because he does fit our second line. He'd be pretty much like exactly like what McDavid was last year for us. Like, what it was... Let me just take a look at what we could potentially trade away to get somebody like Nathan MacKinnon. I don't like that he's signed for 2 years, though. But he might retire at the end of this year, and then we wouldn't have to pay him for next year. At least that's what I would hope for. So if we wanted to try and get somebody like Nathan MacKinnon, for example, for next episode, we'd have to give up like a prospect for sure. In that sense, I would probably give up Dan Foose because Dan Foose isn't going to pan out. But we'd be over the cap hit, so we'd have to try and get them to retain a decent amount, which they might not want to. Okay, so we might be able to do something like Dan Foose for McKinnon, but we'd have to try and get them to retain a lot of cap space if we want to, which means we could maybe add in our first round pick to an extent to get them to retain like a full 50%, which would be pretty good. Get them down to like 4 point something for the entire season. So if you guys think that's an option, definitely let me know in the comments. But otherwise, that's going to do it for this episode of our Detroit Red Wings franchise mode. So in next episode, we will take it to the trade deadline and sim the remainder of the season, and hopefully we can make it back to those playoffs. So let me know what you guys think down below, and I'll see you guys next time.